So let's call it straight. Team Biden believes the private sector is wrong and the government is always smarter. So they now plan to intervene with regulatory oversight across the board. And it's going to be a very bad idea. Joining us to discuss, FreedomWorks Veep and Committee to Unleash Prosperity Hotline, Steve Moore, and Fox News contributor and columnist Liz Peek. This is insane, kids. This deserves attention because it hasn't received enough attention. It was a news story in the Journal. I'm sure you both saw it. They're going to develop an executive order to direct agencies to strengthen the oversight of industries they perceive to be dominated by just a small number of companies. By the way, there is no evidence to suggest overconcentration. All right, they're throwing out the Robert Bork, Milton Friedman idea of consumer harm, and they think they are smarter. They're going to run everything. And I'll go to Liz for Liz. They will extend this to every nook and cranny in the business world. You wait and see. They will.
Well, it's incredibly damaging, Larry, and also very confusing because President Biden has made it clear he wants American businesses to be strengthened as they oppose China, as we compete with rivals around the world. So on the one hand, he wants to strengthen our competitive position. On the other hand, he doesn't want any company to be big enough really to compete on a global scale. So when you're talking about finance in particular, for example, if you're not big enough, if you don't have hundreds of billions in assets and so forth, you're never going to be able to compete with all the big banks in China and Europe and so forth. We all would love to think that our local grocery store or hardware store is really the model of good business governance. But guess what? That doesn't really work when you're in a global economy. And so I think this is such a misguided thing. By the way, we had 8 years of anti-business legislation under Obama. It stifled our growth. You would think that Joe Biden would remember that.
It's the same disease that gave us subpar below 2% growth. You're exactly right. Steve Moore, they're going to move to limit oil and gas drilling, of course, on federal lands, extending pandemic-related moratoriums on evicting renters. They want to go beyond. I'm just reading, and this is just the news. This isn't the editorial page of the Journal. They want to go beyond conventional antitrust enforcement, focusing on blocking big mergers. There's no evidence of concentration, and they're throwing out the consumer interest theory of Bob Bork and Milton Friedman. Just throwing that out because they think they're smarter than business.
Well, look, it's outrageous. And this is 4th of July weekend when we really celebrate America. And there is so much to celebrate now in terms, our economy, according to the most recent statistics, is #1 in the world, Larry. And by the way, it's people like you and Donald Trump that really created this environment where American businesses could succeed and outcompete the Japanese and the Europeans and the Chinese. We've got great companies that are incredibly profitable. By the way, profit is not a dirty word.
Right.
It's why the stock market keeps going up and up and up. My point is, everything's going so wonderfully right now. We have great companies that are outcompeting. And why in the world do we want the United States government to put its finger into every single activity that is going on in our economy when we're #1 in the world? And by the way, on the oil and gas issue, it's a really interesting one because you saw that the price of oil is now between $70 and $75 a barrel. It's gone up about $20 a barrel, at least since, more than that since Trump left office. And why is that happening? Because Biden is restricting drilling on American soil, right? They're restricting the supply, so the price is going up. And so the irony here is that big oil is the big beneficiary of this, and of course the Saudis are. Right. And it's the little wildcatters that want to go out there and drill for new oil that can't do it. And a lot of people are thinking the price of oil might go to $100 a barrel now, and then you're talking about $4 a gallon gasoline.
Liz, I don't know who it was that said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
Okay, because this stuff.
Nobody in the Biden administration said that, Larry.
That is correct. Thank you. That is exactly correct. But I'm just saying they're breaking new regulatory ground. And last night we had a whole show on the 4th of July Declaration of Independence, and the economic rock star Adam Smith argued restrain taxation, restrain regulation of commerce, restrain any trade barriers. This is the exact opposite. This is state capitalism we're looking at, Liz Peek. State capitalism. You get the last word.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, the Republicans talk a lot about a socialist agenda. That's really what it is putting more and more government interference and control over American businesses. And we've seen that that really doesn't succeed. And that's what really is the most galling aspect of this, Larry. These are all ideologues, mostly professors of economics, who are making these decisions and sort of charting this course. None of them has run a business. None of them has hired people for public enterprise or tried to compete. That's who is making these decisions. And again, we have seen this playbook before, where a lot of people basically kowtow to the left in making all these decisions. And guess what? Businesses get afraid. They stop investing. Productivity doesn't increase. Right now, things are booming. Just stay away. As President Trump said, go to the beach. Let things happen.
Seymour, it's July 4th weekend. I yearn for Tom Jefferson. I yearn for Ben Franklin. I yearn for Adam
Larry,
Smith.
tell your friends in Washington that profit is not a dirty word, okay?
I know.
That's why businesses exist.
Now they're going to international. Look, Yellen wants an international excess profits tax. That's what she wants. I mean, that is the stupidest thing I've ever seen. I got to get out. You're both terrific. Happy July 4th, everything. Liz, Peek, and Seymour, you're terrific stuff. Coming up on